Hey everybody, thanks for joining me back in the shop today. I appreciate all the comments and questions and emails asking about different techniques, different tools that I use, different fixtures that I make, source of fire, what's my favorite bench tool, all kinds of things. That's pretty cool. I appreciate that. Instead of doing individual videos, I'm just going to go through and show some of my favorite things that I've come up with over the years. Number one, in regards to frozen slides. I see so many slides, especially when they're spanners like this. This is a number 3 slide off of a Gibraltar sousaphone. I see here that they get damaged from drumsticks. Sometimes people get the slide out. I know you've seen it as well, and it comes out looking like this, and then you're trying to put it back together. We found this stuff. This is thermoplastic. It comes in little beads. You warm them up in a cup of water or a kettle or your glue pot or anything like that you have in your shop. It becomes clear, and then we make matches to the tubing. And this is really, really hard. So this one you can see I did for a number 3 slide on a Gibraltar sousaphone. It pops in. I make them where they lock in place. It takes the contour of the slide. Then I can use a drumstick and I can tap the slide out and I don't damage the crook. I've got them for all kinds of things. Baritones, cornets. Oh, how about that Yamaha trumpet that is one tube bent all the way around? The ferrules are false. Everybody crushes that. Everybody moves the ferrules. You knock them in the ferrule because you think it's real. It's not real, but it works great. So think about getting some and molding to the insides of your tubes. All right, up next, let's talk about fire. All right, up first is my bench torch. This is the Blazer. I've been in the business almost 30 years. This is my 4th Blazer torch. I don't buy anything else. It's triggered one hand. It locks. Intense flame. You can dial it all the way back. You can change on the top. You can, almost like a cigar lighter kind of to a lazy flame for your different applications. For doing piccolos, I adapted this solder tip. So now that there's no flame coming on either side, it's all coming out. So it's a solder tip. This also works well on old school, real heavy duty pots on guitars that were acted as a heat sink when you're trying to get a ground wire attached to them. Something that I carry with me all the time. This is a little mini Blazer torch. This one you turn on and it lights from a pin in the back. That's about all the flame you get. Not super hot. It's probably a 3 Mississippi flame, but it is so, you can pin spot it, so it works great. So I like this one a lot too. Okay, this is where my torch journey really started for taking bighorns apart. When I got away from a shop that was using either oxyacetylene, acetylene, oxypropane. The last place that I worked, we used natural gas and compressed air. Everybody knows what this is. This is for putting tractors back together. It has a huge wide flame and burns lacquer really good. This is a piezo start torch. It runs on propane on the cylinders and it gives you a little bit of a lead. You can buy extra cord for this. We're going to fire this one up. So you pull the trigger and it goes, and then you can lock the flame going. The problem that I have with this is there is no heart to this flame. It's just a wide flame. I can feel it all the way around my hand. So it's as we see, it's a very wide flame. This is really hard to control on band instruments. It burns the lacquer. It does not generate enough heat, in my opinion, to do good silver solder joints. This is an okay thing. I used it for a long time. You learn to adapt and overcome. You add oxygen to the mix, either to your MAP gas or your propane, and a special torch from Burns-O-Matic that accepts both of these, and then it generates a flame that's quality enough for silver soldering. However, whenever you're looking for it, the oxygen always seems to be not where you need it. It's not in the can. This is a Smith little torch. This runs on propane and oxygen. This is the noise that you hear in my videos. Flame that has a nice heart to it, that is very precise. Do soft solder, silver soldering of keys, all the way to welding. This torch allows me to do that. This is the business end of the torch setup. This is a refurbished ventilator, so it's on-demand oxygen. Using an oxygen creator like this means that I can have it on demand. I don't have to get into a contract with an air gas supply house. So I found that the oxygen creator was the best thing for me. The Smith Little Torch has interchangeable tips. Do everything from what you've seen of taking a sousaphone apart down to the smallest cleanup joint on a new trumpet with fresh lacquer, put it back together, and you couldn't tell that I was there. So this truly has taken my work up a notch. So let's look at some of these tips. So this is a number 4 tip, and you can see how small that flame is. It's very intense flame, but extremely small. This is a number 6, and you can see how much larger and more fuel you can get in. Notice a very distinct heart flame, and then the tail. Using my finger as a reference, the tail is about 3 inches long. Very specific. It's very fast. This is what I use to take sousaphones apart. This one really gets after it. So this is the torch that I use. This is the one that I like. It has worked out for me. So this is a fixture that I use around the shop. I've had this for a couple of years. When I saw this style of stand, I bought it for mounting French horns, because French horns on the solder bench are just like French horns in a French horn case. They're unruly. I've been wanting to hold a sousaphone on my bench for over 20 years. It always seems to be I can't find the right angle, and I have to have an assistant come and hold things up for me. So to make this fixture, I decided that I was going to come off the original arms. I was going to extend those out. Did that by using 1/8 inch by 1 1/4. First I cut. This is about 12 inches. This section is 3 inches. I lined each piece up and drilled it twice. I then used pipe insulation. I went with 1/8 inch steel because I want this to be springy. While I do want to cradle the instrument in tight, I do not want to crush the instrument. After I used it the first time, I noticed that I needed to get some extra leverage, so I drilled and tapped the aluminum shaft, and I spun on my lathe some threaded handles. This helped a lot. Here I was worried about the memory lock getting caught down on the table for being passed, so I took a piece of PVC, cut it, drilled it, tapped it, put a cap screw in so it holds tight. I then drilled my bench so that I can insert the shaft. It stays tight. The fixture can rotate, and the yoke makes it completely adjustable. I can have my piece in any angle that I need it. So we're using this old white rat so you can see the contrast and the comparison. So I can put the sousaphone at any angle. Being able to solder from here without wrenching my back, bending over like this, I can bring the work to where I'm at. So this fixture for me is worth a lot. On the woodwind bench side of things, my favorites are, once again, the Blazer torch, which I've been using since 1992. When I was able to buy some high quality screwdrivers, I bought these. I got them from Kraus. I don't know who they were made by. I've had to redo the knurling on these 4 or 5 times. I still love them. You'll see this particular screwdriver show up in my videos a lot. This is the number 1 tool on my woodwind bench, my Swiss Army knife. These scissors are great for cutting sheet cork, small pieces of cork, small pieces of felt, French horn string, shimming, partial shims, all sorts of stuff like that. This is my bench knife. I use this more than I use razor blades. I think it gives me even more control. And that, my friends, cowboy coffee keeps the bears away. So thanks for joining me in the shop today. Hope that helps out some with some of the fixtures and tools that I used. I hope I was able to answer some of your questions. I appreciate you watching and commenting and following along in the adventures. I'll see you next time around when I'm getting back to work.